I am not in an ordinary relationship. I'm in a relationship not with an ordinary man, but with an excellent man. And that requires more out of me.
If you feel like it's a risk that your dude can't support the family, then it's probably a risk.
To be honest, my view of being like a housewife was in a shallow way in the beginning.
Women are supposed to be planning trips. Women are supposed to be bringing the families together. Women are supposed to be making the kids smarter and higher educated. Women are supposed to be doing things for their man that creates that just de-stresses him.
Welcome back to another episode of the Love and Hustle Show. I am your host, Djayla.
And I'm your other host, Cleveland.
Because there is no co-host on this show. We are both the hosts.
It's a fight.
Cleveland and I always make our own rules. But I follow your rules more than you follow mine. Is that true?
Yep.
How you doing today, baby?
I'm doing good. Just getting tired, but...
I understand. He's had a long day, y'all. My man be working and working and working. And right now, he is building the top fintech company in the world. So it's consuming a lot of his time.
That's right.
But on this podcast, this is where me and my honey get to chill in our Zen room and just have really good conversation. And we, on this podcast, explore the many facets of being in a relationship and through our journey of building an empire together.
That was nice.
Thank you.
You wrote that well.
I'm working on it. You know, it's going to keep enhancing.
Okay.
But you had a good day today, honey?
I had a good day. It was a busy day near the end. I guess in the beginning of the day, it was a little bit more... had some fun, did some things.
Yeah. I feel that. Getting right into this episode, you guys, we are talking about something that Cleveland and I actually had a conversation about last night. We are always coming back to this idea of submissive women, specifically what it means to be a submissive woman, because I think people have a bad and a negative connotation with a woman being submissive because we live in such a feminist, liberal society. It's like, oh, you're controlling her.
Well, we have this bad connotation because you've had a lot of up and down, we can say, motions with submissiveness.
I have.
That's why we have to keep talking about it.
Absolutely. I'm still in that space of understanding what it really means to submit, because I think I got into the relationship not understanding that I was with a man that I could trust, and you were doing shit that I didn't see men doing in my everyday life. So it wasn't that I couldn't trust you. It was more so that my ego was not allowing me to be a follower and allow you to lead and know that it's okay to be a follower. I don't think being a follower is something that people, specifically me, let's talk about me. I didn't realize that there's power in being a follower to your man, you know? Especially if he's already doing some stuff that is impressive and like, okay, he can handle it, you know? And I just wanted to take charge in a lane where I'm like proving myself that I could be like Cleveland. And that's where I was very wrong, because I can't be like you, you know? And I
can't be like you.
The more I embrace being a woman and my femininity in our relationship, I would have understood that, and I still am understanding that, like, falling into my place is something that you need as a man, because like you said, you have a lot going on a lot of times. And as a man, you're setting the vision on how our family is going to be guided down a specific road, right? And with that, the woman's job and what I'm stepping into now is like understanding that you need me on like the spiritual side. You need me to be there as your backbone and like number one supporter. And to be a supporter, you told me yesterday, like to support, for a woman to be submissive, she understands that she is supporting the vision, not the individual.
I won't say carte blanche that it's not the individual, because the leader, aka the individual, sets the vision. She just has to not take things personally. And at the end of the day, if the vision is one that she aligns to, then it's the man's job to keep everyone in alignment. And it's the man's jobs to basically help everyone move practically towards that vision. Women, and Djayla, specifically you, are very emotional. And when you're very emotional, not all the time is emotional practical. And emotional doesn't have to mean like tormented in some type of like anguish or frustration or like sadness. Emotions are very closely correlated to, having, dreams and aspirations and, excitement and, having these, just overall feelings of, just longingness to have this thing happen for you and yourself, or so on and so forth. Basically, I think that at the end of the day, regardless of what women and men, forget all of that. I'm very practical. And since I'm very practical, I can get us from point A to point B very effectively. And since and we as a couple, if we have a place that we want to go, and if we have goals that we want to hit, it takes a lot of practicality. It takes a lot of surveillance of like what's happening around us. And it takes somebody to put all the pieces together to get us to that next step. And a lot of times you have to do things you don't want to do. And I don't want to blanket, women or anything like that, but you're somebody who is very much about like doing the thing that this is what your ideology was, and tell me if I'm wrong. You were very much about doing the thing that you were born to do, or doing the thing that you felt like it was your calling, and anything that wasn't something you spent your time on, or wasn't something that you could like develop deeper into. Like that was your was your mindset.
Yeah.
And so what that meant though was we weren't able to move forward until you found that thing. And I basically was like, I'm moving forward. I don't care if I like it or don't like it. I need to move forward.
And I feel like it was an immature way for me to think, because I shouldn't have expected for me to fall into that with being so inexperienced. I hadn't gone through many experiences to be able to understand what my calling was. I just wanted to get right into it. And I feel like that's a trap that a lot of people get into, where it's like, do things that you love when you have to put in the work and you have to sacrifice. And specifically in a relationship, if your man is like, look, this is what I've built already, you're coming in this relationship, get on board, this is where I need you, this is where I am, this is what I'm going to be responsible for in the relationship. I was too emotional to, let that control go of you guiding and leading the way completely. And I now know that was an immature way for me to think. I was, young, didn't know much, but...
Yeah, but there's older women doing that too. I keep wanting to not use the age thing, because I've met many women who doesn't matter the age, they're still just driven by certain ideological views that drive their decision making and drive how they react in the world, regardless of age. Because you can find
was specific. We were talking about our situation,
right? But I still don't think age was the thing that made it so that you didn't have that insight. We can say that age was it, but at the same time, we're 26 now, and we've had this discussion where basically it was like, we dealt with that for a long time.
Right. Still.
Yeah, like you're okay. How practical are you today? Let's just go. Like, how much of a practical? Like, okay,
Not much.
So that's why it's good for me to kind of set the pace and set the tone and set the direction right now, because it's not about age. Because from an application standpoint, you're still wanting to do, like, you killed off a project that we killed off a project this year because it wasn't something that you were like waking up to do to get done because you were like, I just want to get it done because it's just going to be good for us. You still felt like there was something that you could do that you enjoyed more. You know what I'm saying? With the fintech biz. So like, that's just an example. And again, I never took that in a way where I know what it was. And so at the end of the day, since that's how you've been operating, that's how you operate, it's not about the age, it's about just the overall, how you're continuously thinking about it. And you've been saying that you've been developing into being more practically driven and to do things that maybe you don't feel like doing, maybe things that you don't really like want to do or that aren't your calling, but just to do them just so that you can move forward.
Yeah.
But being a mom and stuff like that, of course, it comes so natural to you, and you're like the greatest mom in the world. So, you know, that has been a massive value for us. You know what I mean? And that's where it's like great, because I can continue to focus on the biz and know that, you know, Blissy is being taken care of. So for me, it's, hey, you know, I don't really mind it, to be honest.
And I feel like I'm at a true advantage in life. I was actually talking to my sister today, and she was like, Djayla, you don't realize the kind of situation that you're in and how many women would love to be in your position, because the reason why I feel like you are just an amazing man is because you've always given me grace, and you've been extremely patient, and you've given me options to choose what submissive route I want to take. You know, do I want to be in a relationship where I am, you know, taking care of the kids and, you know, giving my value in the relationship within the household and not really focused on like career oriented things? Or do I want to, you know, set off on this mission with you and accomplish the vision with you side by side, us building together? And both take a certain amount of me letting go control and saying, look, honey, I'm going to let you lead the way. I'm just going to be an amazing follower. And I have fumbled the bag on that a few times, you know, and excuse me, I am pregnant and I have this belching thing that happens. So I just have to put that out there. For women who are not so confident in their man's abilities as I've been in yours, I've never not once been like, I can't trust Cleveland. He is not going to be able to, you know, make sure that things are getting taken care of. That's never, ever once into my mind. And that's a fucking blessing. But for the women who don't really know if they should let go of that control and let their man lead, but their man wants to lead, how does a woman know when to submit?
So basically,
if that makes sense.
Oh, I'll answer the first part where basically you're like, some women feel like maybe it'll be a risk for them to pull back. Some women basically have to have a more masculine identity because they don't feel as if their man is capable enough to do the things necessary to keep moving the family forward on his own. Correct. Is that what you're saying? Correct.
I'll come back to that point. Go ahead.
So women basically want to fall back into a feminine role where they can just be supportive and not maybe have to be in the capitalistic game of, you know, having a job. You haven't had a job in 7 years you've been with me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess there are women. I do hear a lot of women don't want to work and they want to, you know, just take that step back. You know, Kevin Samuels, RIP, he would always ask that question about, you know, are you willing to work, or do you want to work, or do you want to take a step back and just support the family as a feminine kind of a figure?
Yeah.
And someone will be like, I want to work. Someone will be like, I don't want to work.
Yeah.
The women that don't want to work and that want to do, because working isn't like everyone pedestalizes money and finances. I don't, to be honest with you. I really
you never have.
think that the role that a woman can play is quite significant relative to like just how a guy can make money. There are, to me, things that are extremely valuable that women can bring to the table. Unfortunately, when women are asked the question, so what can you do for a man? They always say the same things. I can cook, I can clean, I can have sex with him and make him feel good. And then the guys on the podcast always go, you're a maid, or basically just a hookup. Like, what value are you bringing? I'm going to take care of the kids. Okay, I can have my grandma do that. The guys always are able to like throw all that stuff under the bus. Unfortunately, it's because they're right. Women have a very shallow view of their capabilities because they aren't fully aware of all the things that they're truly capable of from a feminine standpoint, because society hasn't really pedestalized the true capabilities of what the feminine role can bring to the table. From a spirituality standpoint, from a motivational and just overall aura and space bringing standpoint. In my opinion, women are supposed to just create such an atmosphere for a man to have such a clarity of thought that it enables him to just be able to do what he wants to do, do what is necessary at a much higher clip. But women can't think in that space and kind of and evolve in that world. They kind of go too simplistic, and then they kind of run out of things and go, oh, what else do I do? You have a lot you can do. You just have to open up your awareness to be able to like really touch on those things. But for those women, hey, to be honest, if you feel like it's a risk, if you're a guy, if you feel like it's a risk that your dude can't support the family, then it's probably a risk. It should be really obvious that he can do it, to be honest. Like, it should be really obvious. So if you feel like it's a risk, then it is a risk. But if it's not a risk, it's not a risk. That either the dude's making enough cash, hand over fist, to be able to do like cover all expensive easily, or he's struggling and you know he can't. Like, it's gonna be really obvious to them. It's like, no, you know what I'm saying? My dude, he making 50, 60, 70, 80. We got this little BMW, we got this house, we got these kids. Ain't no way he can do all this by himself. It's going to be obvious for them. They're in the real world. You know what I'm saying? So they would basically have to ask him to go get promotions, or he'd have to do something physical, like literal, in society to be able to support his family. If his woman is bringing home the bacon and her bread is going into like, you know, rent and all these other things, she's in a real sticky situation, because now he has to go far beyond what he's been doing over the past few years from a career standpoint to be able to, you know, support the woman. And is in his head, is the sacrifice going to be worth it? Is she going to step back into a role that brings that creates a space that amplifies the home and amplifies their overall enjoyment and happiness? Women are supposed to be planning trips. Women are supposed to be bringing the families together. Women are supposed to be making the kids smarter and higher educated. Women are supposed to be doing things for their man that creates that just de-stresses him. Women don't, a lot of females don't fall back into that role and then create that atmosphere. They don't think that that's something that they could do. So it's a risk for the man, because if he does go and start making more money and now all this pressure's on him and she just sits back and is on Netflix all day, it wasn't even worth it. Her ass should have just stayed at work, because she ain't developed enough to realize what she needs to be doing in the crib. They want to not work, but do they have the qualities of a woman that can sit back, not have a job, and still provide immense value for the family? It's a risk on both sides. It's not just about the dude.
Yeah, you made a really good point when you said that basically a woman is shallow in her defining her role in the relationship as like a housewife. And to be honest, it makes sense for me how that is of high value in a relationship. Because to be honest, my view of being like a housewife was in a shallow way in the beginning. And you were like, no, Djayla, like, this is something that is really important in a relationship, and it's something that's needed, because if you're out there working like I am, then how is all the rest of this going to get handled? And so, one, I think your ability to persuade and make sense of things made me understand how significant that feminine role is. And I don't think men even, like, I don't think some men even understand the significance of a role, of the female role in the house. And they're not able to help their woman understand that, no, this is important. Because I have a friend who is a stay-at-home mom, and just recently she said that she wanted to start going back to school and she wanted to start doing things again. And I hear that happens often, where women feel like they want that. It sounds nice. It sounds like a great world where you're just chilling at home, but then you begin to feel unfulfilled, because we're meant to grow and we're meant to keep developing. And so that Netflix stay-at-home woman, not saying that was my friend or anything, but she wants more out of life. And I think that when you know the value of your relationship and the role you can play, you won't succumb to that other option of going out there in the world and providing value in that way.
Yeah, she basically doesn't know how to make more efficient or optimize the role that she's playing as a stay-at-home mom. She's sitting in the house, dude's coming home, she's maybe cooking a 6 meal, and that's it, and she's going to bed, and she's mediocre at best. So yeah, I know that the women that beg to have the ability to just stay at home, that means nothing. Like, yeah, you want your man to like stop, like to level up. Are you going to do the right thing when he does level up? Are you going to be able to create the platform and the space and do those really, it's such a lost art. So it's almost hard to really define, but are you going to be able to tap into that, that ideology that is just not just really in the nature? Maybe it's an American society thing. I don't know, because it's almost really hard to define, but it's really not that hard to define either. We've already kind of really mentioned it. You just got to double down on the things that we've talked about earlier. It's a risk. Women go home, stay at home. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying, I've been around enough homegirls to know what they're going to do at the house all day.
And you're saying a man, when he comes home, if that behavior is repeated and his woman's not doing shit, he is gonna eventually get bored or just have distaste for his woman, because it's like she's not doing nothing.
For
like
sure.
Most men will begin to be unattracted to their woman if they continue.
Yeah. I think the lady thinks she has to show up in lingerie every night and go,
right,
look at me. Dude's gonna eventually be like, okay, go sit your like, he's gonna eventually get over that. You can't just have sex appeal your whole life and be in like the silk robe thinking that that's going to make him go, all right, the same chick from 9 years ago in the same silk robe again. Exciting. Yes, I was waiting to come home to this. No, she needs to know how to spice it up. Of course, he should too, but he spices it up on weekends. It's her job to spice it up Monday through Friday. That's her job. And it's not about sex. And it doesn't even have to be about intimacy. Have him come home to a brand new TV. That's what he wants. Have him come home and, maybe, you let him know that some of his buddies are coming over and you started up the barbecue. He's going to think you're the coolest chick on the planet. Like, it's a little bit different. I can't think of all the things, but do what makes him happy, not what you think makes him happy. Because what you think makes him happy, which is like just cutesy shit, doesn't really make him happy. He's just doing that for you. Yeah.
And you mentioned that a woman can provide value with the spirituality, also providing structure for the family and making sure that the woman is like maintaining the systems that the man put in place.
Mm-hmm. I think that's important.
I think that's very important. And women have a natural ability for organization. So
women love to clean and organize.
Yeah. Back when Cleveland had his company clubber, I remember you would ask, you know, people who wanted to be a part of the team what they were good at, and people would go, I'm good. Women would be like, I'm good at administrative, you know.
Every woman was a project manager.
That's what it was, a project manager.
I'm like, got it. You guys just want to organize.
We're good at it. What can we say? What can we say? I mean...
And that's not being monolithic again. It's just what it happened, what it was then.
Yeah. And raising, you know, a daughter now and, you know, another one on the way, if she sees me maintaining this feminine role that is, you know, in cahoots with my man and giving value in the way of like the non-traditional sense nowadays, you said something that was like, women don't know the value of what it means to be a woman anymore. And if she sees that I'm playing this role, then she's going to be able to, you know, get in her relationships and be able to make her man happy, and they can be happy together because she knows, you know, because she has an example. The women in my family had to have that masculinity in the sense of like taking charge, because there was just a lot of weak men in my family. So that subliminally, subconsciously seeped into me, and it manifested into this way where it's like, okay, Djayla, you do not know how to like let me fucking lead, and it got really frustrating. And so, you know, in this transition of me saying, look, honey, we've been together for 6 years, and I trust you, and I want to be a follower of Cleveland because you're a fucking genius. And I know that if I lose you, I lose everything. So I need to sit my ass down and let you take charge. And I am so happy with that.
I guess the biggest thing is she said this a lot, but didn't know the subliminal things that didn't understand the full totality of what submissiveness was. Maybe you can talk about that, because if you were to ask anybody 2 years ago, are you submissive to Cleveland? You go, yes. And then I go, this firecracker submissive, she doesn't listen to shit I say. Or you would listen, and then it would be like, I think there's a difference between going okay and then following through. And you didn't follow through with like the thing. Like you had a very dubious way of submitting, where on the front end it looked like submission, but on the back end or the end result, it really wasn't that. Yeah, following means somebody is somebody who's a true follower is somebody who is looking to take on or understands a vision, and they're basically going into that vision and building into it outside of what the curator of that vision has like spoken about or kind of like expressed. Like, let's say I go, hey, we're going to, let's say I had a vision where it was like, hey, we're going to become I'm going to become a pastor. And you're going to become a woman who's like my right arm. Like, what's it called? The lady? Like, so. First lady. Yeah, you're going to be my first lady or whatever. And you were like, is that what we're going to do? And I'm like, yes, that's what we're going to do. And then you were like, all right. The next thing is for you to go into that role absent of me telling you everything that you need to do along the way. It's like, I shouldn't have to tell you step by step. I set the vision, and now it's just all about you checking back and going, hey, this is what you said we're doing. If I'm not going that route, like if I'm fucking up, then at the end of the day, that just means that I'm not abiding by my own like ideals. But at the end of the day, a good follower is somebody that goes, okay, this is where we're going. All right. And they're running in that direction just as strongly as you are. It's not about like, what do I do next? 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 And that's kind of what it was for us. When it really should have just been, hey, this is where we're going. Let's do everything we can to get there, which was like, you know, we have the Bishop family, and the Bishop family, like our core purpose or our core vision for the Bishop family is to bring families closer together, which is really what Love and Hustle is all about too. Right. Like that's our vision. or more or less, that's our mission actually. And so our vision is to have it so that, you know, we have like 1 million families that are closer together, that are bonding together, and that basically, you know, through certain values and heuristics that we throw out there, they're able to use those things to make their lives better. So if that's the mission and that's the vision, we should both be running towards that. Just because I'm the one that kind of like pedestalized it and said, this is where we want to go, doesn't necessarily mean that I need to be giving you every single thing from a direction standpoint on how to get there. It's our job to learn and journey towards that. I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers. We both have to learn to like figure out how that happens.
Yeah. And I think the lack of follow through came because I just had such low confidence in myself and in my abilities. And I didn't realize that I was totally capable of producing the outcome that we both wanted. And that subsequently led me to having very low effort in everything that I did. And it consistently would show up in the different ventures that we would go into and the different missions that we would be on. I just didn't give it my all because I lived in my head. And
I'll put us on so many money moves.
Yeah.
So many. I would say, yo, this is the move. This is the move. This is the move. And boy, oh boy, would I do my job.
You did.
You know, and my honey would be there just trying to help out as much as she could, but it just wasn't as thoroughly, you know. So we just kept going to try to hit these money moves. And yeah. You
can envision it like this. Like Cleveland was the guy that was just very growth mindset and wanting to continuously every moment grow. And I was not at that same level. Took me years still. I'm having to understand, you know, I can't be where Cleveland is because he plays his own role, but I can fall into alignment with my higher self and be able to fulfill the aspect of our relationship that makes me just as valued as him. But the problem is I tried to duplicate Cleveland and mimic what he did, and that created my ego to get in the way, where you were like, damn, Djayla, like, you know, not too long ago you told me like you need to be more feminine because there's just this masculine like side of you where we communicate, and I don't feel like I'm talking to my woman. And I feel like a lot of that came from just me wanting to like be like you, basically.
And this isn't me trying to force her into business. This is her aspirationally wanting to make more money and wanting to, you know what I'm saying, get involved in the game of like, you know, entrepreneurship and stuff.
Yeah.
That wasn't me. I just want to set that record straight. Like I wasn't like trying to pull you into it. You were one that you were somebody that was like, yo, I'm trying to make stuff happen. That's
what I was going to say. I misinterpreted submissiveness because you said if somebody asked me if I was submissive back in the day, I would have said yes. I was more so loyal than I was submissive. Like I was Cleveland's sidekick, and that made me feel like I was submissive because I was always there no matter what. But that just because you're present doesn't mean that you're submissive. It just
doesn't mean that you're listening.
There. Or doesn't mean that you're listening. It just means that you're existing and you're there, which is very insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So, you know, I can say that I am loyal, but I have not been, you know, submissive. So
very, very loyal.
Yeah. I misinterpreted that.
Well, I guess loyal and trusting is like the same thing, but very trusting. I could trust you. I couldn't trust you with like business stuff, but if I needed something like to get done where it was like, get this done, then you would get it done.
I'm throwing the bag out the window.
Yes.
You're like, no.
Wait, what are you talking about?
You couldn't trust me with business because
the
deal would be broken.
Yeah, business was too intricate. You've never been in business. You are at its core. Yes, your family is very entrepreneurial, but your family is more artistic than they are like. They're very artistic, but there's some of them are very entrepreneurial. You got the more artsy side without the ability to like do art. So, because you're not an artist, you don't draw, you don't paint or anything like that, but you have like the
I'm a
arts.
digital creative.
Yes.
I can create beautiful
User interfaces.
And I can edit videos very well.
Yeah.
Because I've edited all of Cleveland's videos for the past 5 years. So.
Yeah. You're basically really good at Figma style drawings and arts and stuff like that, which is, I think that's the most valuable type of art these days. User interface design.
Because you're in that business, so.
Well, shit.
If you were an artist, you'd say that.
Well, I like the kind of art that you can use. I like Figma. I would rather have somebody who can freaking do amazing UI design for some technology product than someone who paints a pretty picture that just goes up on a wall. And you can do.
But if I was selling that artwork for thousands of dollars, would you think that way?
I can resell the SaaS product for thousands of dollars a month. I can only sell your art once.
Well, you only enjoy that kind of art because you could use it.
I'm using the SaaS product, and other businesses are using it to make their companies more efficient.
So you just want to use me?
I'd be using you if you were drawing.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think the type of artist you are is. I think that's the new art. People do the 4D rendering. There's this guy on Instagram who does 4D rendering and stuff. It's cool, but it's cool to look at. But the people who can design software that has UI and here's the funny thing about it. The best UI designers on Dribbble and stuff, you never see those apps in deployment. Because then if you go to the CRMs or if you go to the social media apps, they're all just overly simplified, very simple. Instagram hasn't changed in years. So it's almost a thing where it's like, the coolest designs are just so aesthetically nice to look at, but they never actually get to scale.
They're not concrete in business. Like they're not.
Those designs never scale.
They're not live. That's so true. You don't see Dribbble designs.
You don't see Dribbble designs live at scale in these big companies for some reason.
Interesting. Well, at the end of the day, being a submissive woman requires a level of maturity to understand what it really means, and that it's not about you or me. It's about the vision and the mission we're on. The difference is, and I told my sister this today, I am not in an ordinary relationship. Cleveland and
What's an ordinary relationship?
I was just about to say, an ordinary relationship is a couple that, hangs out together. They love each other. Their definition of love is just being there, having fun, hanging out. When they come home from work, hey baby, hey pony baby, I love you. Let's pop open a beer, drink some wine, and have fun. On the weekends, what you trying to do? Let's go out, hang out, chill. That's the kind of relationships that I see often. So I'm saying it's ordinary because it's the most normal relationship that I see, I'm in a relationship.
We've gone to 10 parties.
Well, in the beginning of our relationship, we went out a lot because it was just a part of he created a business to go out. And that was the only reason why you were in it. And you had business partners that were in the bit. So everything that Cleveland does for entertainment purposes, he finds a way to make money out of it. So, yeah, that's why we went out. But I'm in a relationship, not with an ordinary man, but with an excellent man. And that requires more out of me as a woman who... You just read to me the other day a note that you had written from 2014, and you were speaking on your vision of technology, and this guy was fucking 21. I don't know. He sounded the exact same in that note as he does now, and he's been destined to be this tech innovator and make millions and billions of dollars. If you read that note, you'd be like, damn, you were thinking that way when you were young? Yes, he was. I wasn't thinking like that. I just wanted to be happy and in a relationship, and with that has created a lot of issues in our relationship because I've been, pretty passive, but I live in... Go ahead.
It's not that it created issues in our relationship. It created conflicts within yourself. And those were expressed in our relationship, because if you came into our relationship not wanting entrepreneurial success, I would have been fine with that. you wanted entrepreneurial success, but you also weren't willing to do the practical things to get it. So you had lots of conflict that you were always just cycling through continuously at all times, and it confused me, it confused you, and it got to the point to where basically it's like, hey, either just get out of this ideology of like being this entrepreneur, like I'm the CEO type chick, which is like not working out for you, get completely away from it, or do it. But the in between just can't keep happening.
Yeah.
So it's not that it manifested into the relationship, but that was a thing that you were going to deal with regardless of me at some point in time. It just happened with me.
And I say that
because I accept people for where they're at, to be honest.
Yeah, but at the same time, you are a man of momentum and speed, and your woman has to be on the same speed as you, which requires a lot more effort than I was giving. I was complacent and I was comfortable with where I was at because I was just happy to be alive. And you know what I'm saying? So yes, I agree with you. It was a conflict in me, but it also was not a requirement in how you wanted to manage your relationship with the woman that you created for your future.
I want excellence in whatever it is that you're doing.
Right. Exactly. And he truly means that. Like, some men will say, you know, and live in this dream and this fantasy in their head, wanting to accomplish all these things. But the difference between that man and Cleveland is that he always kept me on my fucking tippy toes, still keeps me on my tippy toes, and reminds me every day what the vision is, where we're at, why we're not there, what we need to do, like always communicating about it. So,
I'm obsessive. I have an obsessive compulsive, obsessive compulsive, I guess, behavioral trait as it relates to getting somewhere in life. And yeah, there's a certain type of person that can deal with somebody like that and not have conflict, and basically understand that's what, basically the more you understand different types of people and you see different types of people, you can understand your significant other or your spouse better, because you'll realize that, oh, this person is just different, or this attribute that they have is something that I can either help them with, or I can disdain and just say that, you know what, this isn't the type of person I want to be with. But yeah, my obsessiveness with success is never going to go away. So it's almost a thing where it's like, either, you know, the people around me acclimate to that style of how I communicate, or they distance themselves, as my family has. You know, my family is, they complain a lot and they don't want to solve their problems. And I'm somebody that wants to solve their problems and doesn't want to always complain. And so if I be myself around them, we're going to be at a conflict. And that's why we are at a conflict at all times, because they don't want to solve their problems. They just want to complain about them. And I'm in this space where it's like, okay, I have the battles of, I'm going to just accept them for who they are and just love them as they are. And that's fun and that's fine. But then guess what starts to happen? They start to want to vent. They start to want to complain. And that starts to get in me, and that starts to lower my vibration. So then it's impossible for me to not give advice. It's impossible for me to not help them find a solution, because I'm a problem solver. They don't want to solve problems. And so it just creates a consistent conflict. How do you I guess, coalesce around somebody who does the thing that you define as the thing that you'll never do in your life? You really almost don't. You don't. You got to just distance yourself, or just find a way to maintain a relationship. But it won't ever be as, I guess, intertwined as you would ever want it to be, if you guys have two just opposingly different ideological views.
Yeah. And because you have that personality where you are a problem solver, anybody you come in contact with, you are trying to help them solve their problems. And so I feel like that's made you have the ability to discern the aptitude of a person's ability to change. Because sometimes you'll get a response where it's like, oh, this person, you know, they're not gonna do shit with what you say, and they're like, they have too much of an ego. Or sometimes people will listen to you, like you gave homeboy advice about his business, he ended up using it, and you know, he transformed his business and took off, you know. So I think that is good, you know, for you to have that as a trait, to be a businessman, because then you find the right people to work for you, because you know who's a problem solver and who's not, because you come with that energy, you know? Mm-hmm. What a great conversation. Thank you, honey, for joining me on the show. Even though this is your show too, but, you know, you were tired and you still...
How long has it been?
You still came and you still did it, and it's been 45 minutes.
Oh, that's not that long. People can watch a 45-minute podcast. They can watch an hour and 30 minute
3-hour podcast. It's just about all how interesting you are. So for those that stuck around till this part, hey, I mean, continue to watch the episodes that come out. We'll be posting 3 episodes per week, and they'll be on all platforms, streaming everywhere, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we'll be there. Any last words?
I guess last words, hey, you know, I know there are a lot of people that are stuck in the matrix, and don't think that that's a coinage by, you know, Andrew Tate or anything like that. That's just a commonly used phrase for being stuck in the rat race. It's hard to get out of the matrix when you have a job and when you have kids, and when you're the sole provider of your home, and you want to change and you want to do different things. I deal with people every day that are trying to change their lives to basically put themselves in a better position financially, mentally, because they're stuck. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have absolutely no advice for you. I have no advice for you. I hate that you've wedged yourself into this position by basically following a ideological plan that you thought was going to bring you into a different lifestyle, but you had no prudence, and you are now paying the consequences of not paying attention. And start paying attention more to what this environment of the world is going to lead you into, so then that way you can realize that you are going to have ingenuity, and you're going to have to figure out how to unwind all the crap that you were led to. Basically, it was inevitable. It was inevitable. When you let someone control your time, your thoughts, and your ideas, and you're only thinking of opportunities that are brought upon you by your peers, and you're not expanding outside of that network to like have these different and bigger rationalizations, you are going to end up being the typical person. And typical people live typical lives, and typical lives are very uncomfortable. So yeah, I have no advice for you. I don't know what to do in that situation. All I know is it can be figured out and you can fight your way out of it, but you have to go deep into understanding what this game is of capitalism and finance and economies, and you have to become more valuable to the marketplace. The second you become more valuable to the marketplace, you can easily unwedge yourself out of this bind. But then at the same time, how old are you? Are you older? Are you older than 25? Are you older than 24? If you're older than 24, then and you feel like you're stuck, it is very likely you're going to stay stuck because of the way you think of the world. You have to completely do away with all the dogma and any judgment as to how you become successful, and just become successful through the means present to you in that moment. Do whatever is necessary to get out of that situation, because it's fucked up. It's fucked up to have to work and do things that don't scale, and you're just making a paycheck and you have to just keep coming back and you're not learning, you're not growing. I could never imagine what that's like. And I'm so happy that at the age of 21, I made a commitment to myself after working at Abercrombie and Fitch at Lenox Mall that I would never work a job again. You must unwind, but you have kids, so you might be fucked.
And that's coming from a man who literally started from the ground up and has been in the game by himself for many years. So he's not talking out of privilege or anything. He is saying that because he did that unwinding himself. He knows it's possible. And you've enlightened me to so many different things. It can make me emotional because you're just that guy that truly will change your life if you let him. So... What?
Oh, I'll change your life.
I hear you change people's lives every day.
How do I change people's lives?
Honey, you get on the phone with people and you speak to them in a way that they don't get spoken to. And regardless of how they respond after the phone call, they feel like their life has changed. Just because they talk to you.
But that's and when that happens, it just goes to show how easily persuaded people can be through just confidence and communication.
Which is why you would be a great cult leader.
Cult leader? Mm-hmm. Hey, I've always wanted to start a cult. But it'd be a cool cult.
It'd be a technology cult.
It'd be a tech cult.
What the hell would that even be?
Tech cult. I don't know.
Hey, why can you never trust stairs?
I don't know.
Because they're always up to something. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Don't do that again.
Why?
It's a joke.
My joke was better.